If you run an HVAC, plumbing, or electrical business, you know for a fact what is coming. And that is the summer demand, right? Phones are ringing nonstop, teams getting stretched thin. And if your call handling is not dialed in, that's when calls get missed and revenue starts slipping through the cracks. And we don't need that happening during your most important time of the year. So today is all about fixing that before the busy season hits. Now, my friends, I'd like to introduce you to Breezy if you're new here to the show, and quickly share how we fit into this conversation, right? So Breezy offers a full field management system that's more affordable than those bigger platforms and provides you with the actual solutions that you need and nothing more, right? So we come with best in class support, and we include really powerful built-in AI tools to help you capture more business without the need for hiring more people. And our customers are seeing a median 19% year after year growth after switching. So that's one way. And the second option is we can take out all of those awesome lead capture tools and we can put them on top of your existing software so there's no need to switch, right? And those AI tools include an AI after hours CSR, an AI powered website chat feature, and an online booking feature that allows customers to book service calls themselves right through your website. So contractors using these tools are seeing up to 30% more booked jobs. Now more than ever, people are comfortable making those buying decisions without ever really speaking to a human being, right? Think about it. You order food from your phone, you get groceries delivered to your front door. Some cities, people are literally hopping into driverless vehicles to get them across town. So the expectations from the consumers have shifted, and homeowners don't want to wait on hold. They don't want to wait for a call back. They just want to book a service call the same way they do everything else: quick, easy, on their terms. I'm really excited to introduce you to today's guest on the point of making things easy, right? Dave Peppelman. Dave Peppelman is the founder of the HVAC Implementer. He not only helps HVAC shops, but he helps everyone in the trades. Whether you're HVAC, plumbing, or electrical owner, he helps you turn your ideas into action. He combines the expertise of a consultant, the accountability of a coach, and the hands-on implementation of a fractional to actually help you get things done inside your business. And he's known for really helping contractors implement those systems that drive profitability and reduce stress. So for everyone on today's call, you're going to be able to access a free 2-hour implementation of either today's content or any other thing that you're working on, really. But you can scan that QR code and you can sign up for that free 2-hour implementation. Dave, thanks so much for coming on to the show. Out of all the implementations you've really helped contractors with over the years, what percentage of them have to do with call handling efficiency? Is that a big focus for a lot of contractors?
You know what? It is. And a lot of times contractors, when they say what their problem is, it's kind of like the iceberg effect. I like to go back to where they're handling with the call handling, because I don't know about you, but when I need a service provider, I might see their advertisements, I might know about them. But the moment I call them up and interact with them, whether it's online or the phone call, that's the part where I instantly get all the stuff they were telling me about to see if that's the impression that really matches the service that I'm going to get. So I think it's probably one of the most crucial parts in any business is the way that we handle our phone calls, but more of the communication we choose to do with customers. And so I think there's not just one way. When riding along with the tech, and I ask them, how's it when you get the phone calls in the office? They're like, oh, I wish they could handle that better. To when an owner is listening to a phone call and is like, oh, wow, we answer the phone like this, So there's always a way that it's impacting their business.
I think you're right on the money with that answer. Dave, another question for you before we get into the content. What's the difference you see between contractors who have a system in place before the summer, so those really prepared ones, and ones that just don't have that system in place?
CJ, one of the things that I see is it's like when you take a professional athlete, right? And you're about to come up to bat or they're about to perform. You really find out if that person is going to hit it out of the ballpark or are they going to strike out? You can sometimes just tell by the way that they bring their presence up, like, oh, this is the guy I want at the bottom of the ninth, or no, this is not. And so so that's where I think the one thing that our industry, you take about HVAC, plumbing, electrical, you take pest control, it doesn't matter, is the fact that we're so much in our industry ready to be reactive than to be proactive. And with that, we're geared up constantly of we go from no work to a lot of work. So when people are like, how's your day going? I don't know. Ask me in an hour after Monday morning and I'll let you know it's going to change. So we with that, we have to be prepared. And so preparation sometimes is in some companies a form of just showing up and reacting to the day. Other ones, it's following a plan and sticking to that plan. And so depending on what levels you're at with your business, you could be ready or not for the busy season. But we never know when that first day is going to hit. We predict we might be
Right.
able to be close, but we never know when it's going to happen.
I really think that's an awesome starting point, and let's really dive into the content. So I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to bring up your slide deck. So if you want to get that shared, I can pull that up. Are you ready?
This is really great. And so CJ, I appreciate it. Just to kind of let you know, like, in our industry, we do have a lot of people who are providing the consultant aspect. They're giving you tons of knowledge and being a very valid resource. Then we do have the ones who will go ahead and coach you along with specific programs or a different training. And then there's the ones where you handle people fractionally wise to come in and do the work. And so one of the things that I saw being in the industry for over 25 years is the fact that where's a great combination of getting all three of them into one. I want somebody who just comes alongside, gets hands on, and we implement those ideas. And that's what really started with my business, and the fact that my heart goes out to you contractors is that you are doing such a good service out there that 85% of you know your trades very well and you get into business because of your trades, but it's the business side, it's the constant implementation that your great ideas never come to fruition is because we're constantly reacting instead of being proactive in our business. And so implementation is one of the ways that I found if you can just implement quicker, easier, and more often, your business will transform tremendously. And like you said earlier, it gives you the ability to strive and hit growth, but ultimately reduce that stress. Because, it would be lovely in the HVAC world to be able to take a nice 1 week vacation in the middle of July and not worry about your business. And so we could all get there and do that. So that's essentially what I do when I work with contractors and all the trades. And so one of the things that is unique is that the middle of my bullseye, most of the contractors I work with is in the HVAC, plumbing, electrical. We're all starting to come under that envelope of those types of trades. And as you see with different businesses buying up different types of trades out there, that is at the core. So that's where I have sat in your guys' seat from anywhere from answering the phones to go ahead and running my own company to being on the wholesale side and understanding what it is to sell you the product, and now being on the other side of coaching and implementing the services. But anything we do here in implementation is directly relatable to any type of industry that we go and serve. So hopefully you find what we can talk about today and make it applicable for whatever you're in. So one of the other things that people don't realize is I travel across the country. I'm located here in Minnesota, and right now we're not thinking anywhere about what it's going to be for spring anytime soon, as we just went from 70 degrees, and I think it might snow next week. So that's the constant up and down. But one of the neat parts is I can work virtually, but also do come out on site. And so from ride-alongs to on-site meetings, running technician meetings, to ultimately inventory solutions, that is ways that whatever your idea might be, sometimes it's just best to talk to somebody who can expand upon it and help you get that 1% further towards getting that completed. And so that's what I love to do. So it doesn't scare me when I got to get up there and crawl in an attic, or I have to sit there with the CSR and we're getting yelled at on the phone by a customer. It's all okay with me, and that's what I love to do.
Hey, Dave, I want to jump in
Yeah.
really quick before you get any farther. I noticed a bunch of people just joined a little bit late, so I wanted to let them know that you're offering a free 2 hour implementation of anything that we learn on today's call or anything else that they might be working on. So I went ahead and dropped that link in the chat. So go ahead and click that and get you signed up.
Perfect. Appreciate it. Yes. Anything you see here, hit it up in the chat. You want to talk about, let's do that. Take advantage of it. There's not too many times that people want to give back and be able to help you in your trade. And so I love to do this. This is my passion. I tell my wife all the time that when I get to the point that where I can retire financially, I will literally come to each one of your guys' doors, come in the back door and say, hey, what can I do and help you with anything you need for the day? Because I just love seeing you succeed because you're so great at your trades. So the way that I work, the kind of the framework that I build around to implement ideas quicker, easier, and more often is that with my implementer in his glasses, it has the big 3 E's of implementation. And so we simply just think about whatever idea you want to go and implement. Today, we're talking about call handling and how to do it effectively. We got to evaluate the situation we're in, evaluate the idea. What is it we wanted to do to improve? Is it getting an AI agent? Is it getting the better script? Whatever it might be, we have to evaluate. We want to get better. So we got to evaluate what's involved in what we're doing now and where we want to go. The next part is we got to energize the team. This is even with call handling, a lot of times we think the one CSR who answered the phone, they're the direct responsibility of the result. No, it talks all the way from the marketing to how the tech performs in the field to how we go ahead and go through the billing. Everybody works together. So when we implement these ideas, we want to have the whole team around, and whatever their part is, sometimes it's just them being aware of it to help it get come to fruition. And then simply at the end, we want to execute and we want to act. The biggest part is I find that we get to the idea of yes, I want to do this. I then talk to people about it on my team, but the third step never comes into play is because we're waiting for that perfect install to then roll out our new install procedure. We're waiting for that right call to be able to run our script. And so a lot of times what is being done is simply happening in the execution, which then gets us closer to the results that we want. And so simply just evaluate the idea, energize your team, and then execute and act. And you'll be surprised the results that you can get. And today we're gonna talk about that.
Dave, I want to jump in real quick and ask because I'm sure a lot of people are thinking of the same thing, right? What's the first step in energizing your team? I think a lot of folks have some great ideas and they're like gung ho about implementing, and the team buy-in and the kind of culture fit of that idea is something to really consider. So how do you go about helping energize the team?
Yeah, I mean, there's depending on what size of the company that you're at, when you're small and you're working directly with the owner, the ideas tend to free come a little bit more freely. You might be banging some ductwork with them, or you might be, helping them out on the job, and you can talk to them about what your ideas are. And then you get to where you might have 50 people in your company, and it's like, okay, who do we go to? HR, we go to our manager. And so sometimes those barriers might be a little difficult to overcome, but the good companies out there always encourage in having those great ideas. I think about the show The Office, and where Michael's always like, "Hey, put the great idea in the box," and we have it. And then when they finally looked at the ideas, they were way outdated. And we need to make it that team meetings are a great way to do it. Having time dedicated at your company to just say, "Hey, we need to talk about what's happening now, and is there any ideas that we can implement?" But energizing the team is it's great to bring it up to people who might not be directly understanding what you're going to offer, and the feedback is really crucial. And sometimes just the way that they hear it is the way that can get you to be done better. And then there is some other things like assessments that are really good. So Patrick Lencioni's Working Genius assessment really shows you how to handle the widgets in the business, and knowing where your team's genius strength is at is really good to pass it off. And so I know with techs, a lot of times, if you have a great idea and you can tell somebody in the office, hey, is there some way you can summarize this and put this down to paper? use that teammate, because just with them translating it, make sure you get it into what you're looking for. And then we can use everybody together. But this is definitely, we're not on our own island. Everybody needs to work together, but we got to adjust and overcome those barriers when they are present. So great.
Yeah, I love that. My wife's company actually hires Lencioni's team every year, and I'll go sit in on a couple days. And yeah, it's a really great kind of tool to understand where your people's strengths are, and how to kind of coordinate them to move toward the company goal. So anybody needs information on Patrick Lencioni's group, I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, I'm a D and a G, so that's a decision maker and a galvanizer. So I'm always stuck between the idea and it actually getting done. So never really was good when you were the owner's son when they brought you the idea, because it was like, well, it's on Dave's desk, it's going to happen. I had nowhere else to push it off. So yeah. So one of the things is we start talking about call handling, and just to show you that I have sat in your seat. I know that you can learn a lot, but until you experience it, do you have a different appreciation for what you do when you have to handle that call? So I've managed up to 35 call takers in an environment, and it has been very fun and thrilling to do that. I also, when I was dating my wife, I came out on a Memorial Day weekend here in Minnesota, but I was managing my dad's company back in Pennsylvania, and Memorial Day on the East Coast is usually the first time that picks up for really crazy weather and the first hot spell. Well, my dispatcher called out and I was left to fill in as a manager. And so handling over 1,500 calls, that wasn't too good when I came out here with my wife. But you know what? She's now with me, so she saw what it takes when we have these drastic urgencies. But 1,500 calls was a lot in the weekend, and I know what it's like when you just start to get to your greeting and they're asking, hey, can you come out today, and then hang up. So I understand how that works. But I've also understood that though it is grueling, I love it. Even if I'm being yelled at or being praised, I still love it. And I still find that this is the heart and soul of what we do as contractors, is the way how we communicate. So that's definitely been in your guys' shoes. So feel free to bring up any questions, anything, because I know what it's like to be in those positions. And so as we dive in here and we start to look at how we're going to start handling with the calls that you take. I like to bring it from perspective, and it would be great to know if what size companies you guys are out there. But when you're typically in one of these three buckets, you typically can start to see certain patterns that will happen. And so if we take, for example, to have a good way of handling calls, is you want to have a good call tracking scorecard. And with that, when you're typically under 2 million, the owner's still working out in the truck on the day to day. So answering it every time is really crucial for your calls. So as we get to talk a little bit more about what Breezy does and how they're able to assist with that, I can't tell you enough that when I'm riding along with these companies and we're out there and the phone call comes in, I'm going to mute it because I'm sitting here turning a wrench and I need to get this done. And so those customers need to hear from you right away, and missing out on that first, second, third ring could be very crucial. The next one is when you're starting to get up. Now the owner's out of the day to day a little bit more and starting to work on the business. The 2 to 5 million is really where a lot of the struggles come in, but also great growth opportunities. So now it's not so much did we answer the phone, but how do we answer it effectively? How do we overcome those objections and increase our booking rate? And then also, how can we be consistent on every call? I can't tell you that, I could call up the same company 3 or 4 times all throughout the day, and I will get a different way each time. And unless your customer really knows you, but most of them don't, that's their only impression. And so I can't tell them, CJ, like how much that's important because when you think of this company, you see the way they're advertised, but then the way that they answer the phone initially, and I understand you might have just gotten yelled at and you got to turn around and flip it to be happy. It's very difficult, but if that customer can feel it, that will be very, very tough to overcome. So being consistent is huge.
Absolutely. I think, you bring up a good point. And I think as we run through today's content, we all need to be aware of where AI fits into our unique business model. Some folks are really quick to adapt a full AI first call center, whether that is because they have to, because maybe they've lost some of their key employees, like Fox Heating and Air did, or maybe they're just really pushing the envelope and understanding that their people's time and energy and efforts could be used somewhere else more effectively. And some people are using it, AI call handling more as an overflow or a after hours only. So think about where AI fits into your call handling. But if you're going to have humans, it's so funny that we have to call our people humans now, right? If you're going to have people answer the phone, definitely invest in some kind of training and be consistent, like Dave said. And I'm going to drop the link to one of my personal friends and mentors and a friend of the show, Brigham Dickinson of Power Selling Pros. They do an incredible job of training CSRs. So I'll drop that in the link in the chat as well.
Yeah, and those are great resources. There's guys like with the Power Selling Pros. There's I know Steve Kasha. He travels across the country and he does the customer service training. There's some of the simple things that you can get. I know like having a mirror up when you answer the phone. Just if I'm looking sad, it's probably going to translate that to on the phone. So there's always ways to improve, but you don't think that batter is coming up in the bottom of the ninth, and has to hit the home run to win, and showing that they get consistent on with what they're doing with the routine, that comes in when you need to perform your best. And so finding those ways and working with great organizations like them to train so that you can be the best at what you're being. And then when you get over 5 million, so now this is where we switch from, okay, I understand it. I'm answering my calls. Now we're starting to do it consistently. Now you're looking for how can I get a little bit more growth out of what we're doing already? How can we be different? How can we start really impacting the community and being that source of information that they will call for us when they need us? And so you're looking at the value propositions you're bringing, and a lot of times, I know on the previous podcast that you had, he was talking about his one of his managers that had a way that they responded to people just based off of the phone call, and they would send out on during the busy times, they would send out a way of here, this are a couple of things to check the filter, check some of the things that are common issues. That's a value builder. That separates you from somebody else. So like when I did with my garage door, it didn't work, and I called up. They had one of their prompts that said, if you're looking for your error code and what's to troubleshoot it, press one, and then you have a way to do it. Because if you can be that resource and add that trust, increase that trust, but add a little bit more value, they're going to think about, yeah, I know I could call my friend who might be the person I want to use, but you know what? These are the people that are really here, set up and ready to handle what I need. And so as you get bigger, it's bringing more value. And there's so much value when you answer the phones that I think, especially now, because you can text and you can call and you can email, where you couldn't do that years ago, you have the ability to even send something like a welcome, like, hey, thank you for scheduling. This is what you could be prepared. So I know those things go a long way. So yeah, so then the next part that is really good is when we look at, we start to talk about how Breezy is going to work with their AI software and with their agent and their lead capture. one of the things that I see is that when you're under 2 million, let's start focusing on the area over call types, right? A lot of times when you're small, you're like, yeah, I can handle it all, and you go and hit the big call area. You'd be surprised if you really get to be so good in your own backyard. There's a lot of good work there that you then could save on the drive time, save on going to get that part that you need, but really try to be so great in your one area. And if you can focus on doing that, you might be able to, when you're busy, maximize some of your call opportunities. And stuff like what Breezy has to offer is those are building blocks that, using the tool correctly, you can jump from 500 to $1 million really quick. And you're just like, well, how did that happen? Well, so you're simply executing better. And CJ, that is the fact that you're just looking at the information in a different lens, which allows you to maximize your efforts.
Absolutely. And if we're thinking about, you know, the traffic that we're already generating, right? You're already going to get some phone calls during the busy season. You're already going to get some web traffic. Let's create ways to actually capture more of the calls and the inbound traffic that you're already getting, because you're probably spending a little bit of money on marketing. You're probably doing some social media. You're probably in some local community Facebook groups, or, you're out in the community. So let's install, these AI lead capture tools to help you really make the most of those leads that you're already getting.
Mhm. Yeah, it's so true. And because when you get bigger in business, your advertising budget doesn't get smaller. So, it might be the same percentage, but that number just keeps getting bigger. So you're right. And when I sat down with my parents' company, and we were at 15 million, and we were sitting down with a $2 million marketing budget, and they're looking every year, okay, how can we, increase profit 1 or 2%? Their always first question is what can we cut out on marketing? So it's like, okay, well, that's one way we could start doing it.
Why
But
is that always why is that always the department that gets cut?
I don't know. I don't know. It feels like we are just like handing out money in gift bags and just, spending it wherever, where it's like, I don't think that you are more under a scrutinized position than when you're handing out, 1,500 to $3,000 to $4,000 a month for an advertising campaign, and you're just hoping that that works. And so there's a lot that's tied around to that. And so I think one of the things when you're in the $2 to $5 million companies is this is where the authenticity can really come in. Be real and upfront with your language and your script. Now that you have a tool like AI that could help bring that personality, bring the difference. If you don't use that tool correctly, they're not going to know, they're not going to see the difference. And so I was helping one client. We were calling up some contractors, and he was looking to relocate, and we're asking him, you know, are you looking to hire? And you'd be surprised that a lot of people didn't know, and their website did know that they were hiring. Okay, so if your team doesn't know, and that language isn't upfront, then how is it going to resonate with all your other marketing? And so one of the things with AI was we had two people that answered the phone out of the 12 that I called, and they were strictly AI agents. And one of them, when I said, yes, I'm looking to apply for your outside sales position, the one said, hold on, let me transfer you to a live person. I was like, okay, all right. Well, they kind of know where their bandwidth is. But the other one got really creative, and I said that I was looking to apply. They said, well, that is great. We're always looking to add value to our team. Let me help you with getting forward into the next step into our hiring process. And I was like, okay, am I talking to AI, or did somebody actually think about this question? And so that's the part where you can still be unique and use these great tools. And then the other part is a personal touch of a video. We're watching thousands of videos every day, but what you can say in a video as an owner or as a manager, as a tech, and you can let them know that, like, hey, thank you for scheduling. This is a busy time. I know you're probably sitting there sweating, but we're here to take care of you. And you're simply just a call or a text away if you need something that has changed, but we're going to keep you up to date about our process. If somebody sent me that, that would be great, because I called this garage door company, and I said to them, oh wow, my garage door isn't working, and the best they could come out was in 3 days. And I'm like, wow, maybe I'm in the wrong industry. Maybe I need to get in the garage door business, because they're pushing people out that far. But she then said to me, well, don't worry, we'll put you as one of our high priorities. And I'm like, okay, so maybe today I'm not your high priority. I'm like, how does it get on there? So the way your language and perceived, it might sound good to you, but those are the ones that you need to try on people that haven't heard from you, and take that script to be like, did that sound personal enough? And you probably deal with that, CJ, a lot with the script.
Absolutely. And I'll just reiterate, I think this is exactly the reason why it's important to have an outside kind of third party trainer or an implementer like Dave come in and really audit your operations and how you're handling calls and how you're moving people from the prospect to the customer, that whole pipeline. And I'll just talk a little bit about AI and the agents and the call handling right now. And again, I'm going to go back to that statement I made earlier about figuring out where AI fits into your plan, right? So maybe after that two rings, it's kicking from your, human CSR department to your AI voice. And that's going to, help build trust. It's going to keep people from, ringing too many times and hanging up and calling your competitor. And something really interesting, to consider is, do we announce up front that this is an AI agent that people are talking to? Or do we not freely offer that information? Unless obviously people ask, I wouldn't, recommend lying. But we're in an interesting state of AI right now. So that's something to consider. And the personal touch video, there's some tools that exist that can help you personalize it to the actual prospect. You kind of create a generic video, and then you have, the AI kind of rendering, add the person's name and maybe some other, personalized information. But the thing to keep in mind here is that, especially in the busy season, we're communicating with people that are probably experiencing emergency no cool situation, right? And they're frantic, they're upset, they're hot, they're sweaty, like they just want their problem solved. And I, again, reiterating the fact that we're used to, you know a humanless experience with a lot of other consumer behaviors. They just want their needs met and their problem solved. So whether they're talking to a human or whether they're talking to an AI agent, the ultimate goal is to get them booked as soon as possible and to feel like they're going to be taken care of. So we're at a point with AI where we can train those language models in a way that feels authentic to your brand, that is empathetic, and that really, checks the box of getting them on a calendar and getting a technician out there to fix the problem. So again, I welcome you to kind of philosophically figure out where AI fits in your unique kind of business model. But really the ultimate goal is to minimize the time between prospects and paying customer, right? Because what are we all really, at the end of the day concerned with? It's our profits, right? And it's paying our people and it's making sure that our customers are taken care of. So that would just be my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. And you touched on a lot of good points. Um, because AI is like a hammer, right? It can be used to build up or it can be used to destroy. And so it's a tool. And at the end of the day, you got to understand, how's that tool going to be used? Because as humans, we want that connection, and we're using tools that are destructive, and we're using tools that could be better. And when we have a good AI tool, we're not realizing that, wow, that was a really good way of solving that need. And so it's really customizing, it's really embracing it. And so it is a hard point. Do you mention it up front or do you not? And some of those did and some of them didn't. But at the end of the day, you know, what we are measuring is did I feel heard? Did I feel connected? Did I feel like they want my business? And and are they really putting the effort into looking at my needs. And you're right, it's very hard. And so like for me, calling up and having a garage door repair, I don't, I turn my garage door open, every, multiple times a day. You're not thinking about it. And then when it doesn't work, it's like, oh, well, what do you mean? I need somebody out and it's affecting my day. And so we need to think about that same thing is, I do get maintenance on my garage door, just like a lot of people do in the service-based industry, and you try to prevent, but you ultimately can't, prevent when something is going to fail. But knowing that you have somebody that is using the correct language and relating to you, you feel that connection, which what humans want to connect. And I think AI can help us with that if we use it correctly. And I think your software and some of those features are excellent ways to add that personal touch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I echo that
Yeah.
sentiment.
So then let's take it if you get a little bit bigger, right? Now you're over 5 million, right? So one of the things is I know when I was getting so many of those calls, we're getting 1,500 calls in a weekend, right? You can't literally answer them all, and you have to then get back to them, and they might be like, hey, I didn't hear from you. They call another number. And for us, we probably had about three or four numbers out there, which didn't really help because then it just blew up all the other lines. So I usually are like, which ones is urgent? But one of the biggest parts that I find is that there's marketing efforts that are really doing well when they need you. So you find out they call from your magnet, they call from, your website, they're calling from maybe a last invoice or maybe the number that the tech called them on the phone. They're going to try whatever they can. So capturing that information from the customer is huge. But the other part is you'd be surprised if you're busy and they call two or three other people and they're busy, right? But if you have something to get into the long-term growth and the fact that you send them an email, say, hey, we got yours. This is where we can respond. But if you need to be seen earlier, this is where we can help out. And giving those additional options allows the customer to better engage with you. And then there was plenty of customers that we were not able to have a hit for the first heat wave or first, cold spell. But then after that happened, reaching out and touching base with them, I'm probably saying there's more than half of them you could win because a lot of them just got the quick fix and they really didn't get something that they were like, they didn't answer my question on how can I prevent this or what could I do, to not be in this situation. And so that is a great way that when you're at that company, whatever information you come in, noting the age of the equipment, future add-on, and I think like with your AI software, there's so much stuff that a customer tells during that conversation that you might not be able to write down, but because they mentioned, yeah, my air conditioner upstairs is working, but the downstairs is not, and I know the one's more newer. That information you could turn around and use that to then be able to market and better support your customer in the future, which I think is a great thing to capitalize, which wasn't there even a year or two ago. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Recording all the calls and indexing those calls and using them not only for training purposes to get better and better for your human CSRs. Also, it's training your AI CSR to get better and better. It's also data for you to use inside of your field management software. And we'll look at it in just a little bit. Those three tools being your AI voice agent, your online AI powered website chat feature, and your booking widget for your website that people can self serve and select their service times. Those three things can be trained and collect whatever data you need it to collect to really fit into your business model and supplement kind of what Dave's saying here of adding equipment age, future add-on services, really bolstering your client profile inside of your CRM. So those are things that we'll touch on in a bit, and that can be very powerful in helping you kind of boost your revenue.
Yeah. So I think that's good. I'm interested here to dive into, go with your CRM you have here and your AI agent to see how we can provide, some pointers, some ways that they could better use it because I think it's great. But I think ultimately you have to look at where you're at in your stage of business and have to change, have to implement something. And if you expect it to be different with doing the same actions, you're not, because this industry will spit you up and chew you chew you out, and it's just going to be horrible to deal with. But if you attack it and you embrace it and you take some of these new technologies on, I think you're going to be in far better place to really help your customers. So CJ, yeah, I'm interested to see how
Yeah,
we can incorporate that. So yeah.
cool. Yeah, let me bring up the Breezy AI CSR. So if you want to test this out yourself, you can dial this number 530-261-8607. What I'm about to play is a conversation that I had with our kind of phase one AI CSR that was live for one of our customers. And it has only gotten better and more robust and lower latency and just more empathetic as it's been trained over, the course of probably the last 3 months. So looking forward to, kind of getting an updated conversation for our next show. But for the purposes of today's show, I want to kind of just play, this initial conversation that I had. It's less than 2 minutes, so just keep that in mind.
Hello, this is Brandy from Popa HVAC. I'm the After Hours AI virtual assistant. How can I help you today?
Hi, I need help. My HVAC system is not turning on and it's pretty hot out here.
Oh no, that sounds frustrating. Since it's after hours, we do have an on-call technician available. Would you like me to gather your info so we can get someone out?
All right, guys, this is my real phone
Yes,
number.
please.
No crank calls.
All right, let's get this sorted. Can I get your first and last name?
Yes, my first name is CJ and my last
So
name
you'll
is
notice she
Todd.
goes into
Got it, CJ
data
Todd.
collection right
Is
now.
this the best number to reach you at? 203-49124.
Yes, 209-349-1524.
Perfect. Can you tell me your address?
1234 Cherry
My real
Lane.
address.
1234 Cherry Lane. Got it. And
So
the city and zip code?
Forgot to add my city and
Merced,
zip.
California,
She asks.
95348.
All right, Merced, California, 95348. When did you first notice the issue?
It was about 3 hours ago.
Got it. And how did you hear about us?
I just did a quick Google search.
Hold on a sec. Sorry,
Doesn't
a few
let
more
too much
seconds.
time go by with silence,
All right,
which is
CJ,
good.
I've got all your info, and I'll make sure someone from the team reaches out to confirm during normal business hours. Don't forget to ask your technician about our club membership discounts. Anything else I can help you with?
Nope, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
So as you can tell, one of the biggest pressure points during the summer, right? We're gonna be getting demand service calls, no matter if we're doing a bunch of marketing or not, right? Just based on our digital presence. Hopefully, you're kind of incorporating some of the emerging best practices to help you rank with the LLMs and the kind of ChatGPT search and things of that nature. But we're going to be getting demand service calls. So if your call center is overwhelmed, if you have 2 to 3 rings, we can set that up for you to have a overflow CSR. We can set that up for after hours. And really, the point of this is to answer calls, qualify leads, and really get people onto a calendar, right? So we're going to notify our after hours or emergency technicians that are on call. We're going to have them reach out. We're going to have them book times. We're going to have your customers taken care of. And so really that was less than 2 minutes. It gathered all of the information that helped us diagnose the problem, all of the customer's contact information. You'll notice that we've trained the CSR to actually remind people of service agreements. So again, we can kind of train those AI agents on your unique business model, your unique business voice and tone, and be empathetic. and to really help your customers find some quick solutions. So, Dave, what do you feel about that?
Yeah, that was very good. And yeah, hopefully you don't get a bunch of prank calls, but we'll deal with that, but the I think when I was listening to, I was taking my notes in the fact that like I was feeling like, does the customer feel heard? And even though, you're reaching out, yes, that's frustrating, that little bit of communication, and then repeating back the information is big because you want to make sure you got it right. So those are some of those core principles that you're getting when you're answering the phone. But I liked how like we didn't drop the level of service. You got the contact info, you figured out, when was it happening, you got the lead source, and then you're talking about future things that is a plug-in for them, especially for when the techs go out there, if they're talking about the maintenance, and that is a big part of being a team player. And so when you talked about earlier, how do you energize the team? It's like, hey, listen, I'm going to be passing this baton off in this race, and I want to make sure that we don't drop it. And so you want to set your team up for success. So I think you hit the core things of what you need to be good at answering the phone, and then you did it in a very streamlined way. But you're right. When you're busy and you're smaller and you need that phone answered, or you have a bunch of CSRs answering, and then need something as a rollover, I think that's wonderful because most of these ones don't even do that. And I wish you could have a feature that you could show them what they're missing out on, when they don't have it, versus having that. Because at nights and weekends, and like me, it was 7 o'clock last night where my garage door didn't work. I called. I could tell I got the person who was at home answering the phone. All right, but if we would have went through the same prompts, I would have got that service and got it done. So to me, it was that they fulfilled the need when I need to call them. And sometimes it's timing, and you're going to miss out on a lot of the timing if you don't have a great software like this, because you just can't reproduce when people are going to need it.
Absolutely. I appreciate that feedback. We're kind of running short on time, so I'm only going to demo one other feature. And this is in the vein of collecting information, right? We want to collect, we want to validate, we want to shorten the window between prospect that needs a solution and customer that we're providing a solution for. So the other thing that I want to demonstrate today is our website AI powered chat feature. So if somebody calls, like there's two forms of outreach, right? Somebody's going to pick up the phone and call, or they're going to, do a Google search, or they're going to ask ChatGPT, who in my area can fix my HVAC system fast. And they're going to go to your website. And if they go to your website, we can set up this chat feature that prompts them immediately to get them engaged, right? So we don't need them to be stumbling around trying to figure out where to talk to somebody, where to make the phone call. We can engage them right there. And so what we're doing here is the same kind of workflow as the after hours CSR is. We're diagnosing the problem. We're asking if they're a current customer or not. We are collecting their information. We are giving them options to actually book the service call. We're collecting their availability. And so what this does well is similar to what the AI CSR does well, is that it takes the human component out. We're not, beholden to the bandwidth of our call center, or somebody that's like monitoring, the Google form or however you're collecting information. No one has to be involved in that process. And it's just setting people up for success in your business to be able to use their bandwidth to do what matters most. And that is to build and maintain those relationships with your customers, right? So that's what we're kind of seeing right now. What's your take on that, Dave?
Yeah, I agree with you. We use the the chat box, for what sometimes a lot of other support stuff that we were doing. And we really know real quick if we have a level of, I'm just going to deny this to get to somebody real, or I'm going to get some information handled. And I think the way that you're handling it is very good because you're hitting those key components. But making the barrier of entry to work with you, you just lowered that to make it very simple and reactive to where the customer, the variables that they give you. So I think the quick response, the ability to respond accurately, and then to, like you said, engage into them. Is this a customer, or is this somebody, who's just prospecting, and might not be engaging? And it allows you to, free up your resources to get the people that, yeah, just might not be there in that buying cycle yet.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just going to let this play in the background. This is our online self-service booking tool. So this is tied directly into either Breezy's field management software or whatever one you're currently using. But I do want to, just launch a poll right now and let people know that both Breezy and Dave are here to help during the summer busy season. So if you want to hear from either Breezy or Dave after today's call, please go ahead and select those inside of that poll, and Dave can help you implement a lot of this stuff that we're learning today. But we're going to get into a little bit of a Q&A right now. So Dave, do you want to answer this question for me?
Okay. Yep. Depending on
Okay.
the question.
Okay. So if somebody realizes today that their call handling is broken, right? So they sat through this, they understand that they need to be doing something, right? Where's the first place that they should start with an implementation?
Yeah, it is like with the first step, just evaluate the idea. It's so great to, a lot of times we have the conversation, we just talk about what are your pain points. When I'm looking at it, or professionals looking at it, we're not in the weeds of it. So when there's a problem and you come to somebody and you say, my arm is broken, we're looking at the broken arm. We're looking at that problem, and we're looking how to fix it. And so I think you have to figure out what can you do to keep that ball in motion and start moving towards getting it completed, then versus looking at what does it look like when it's finally done. Right now, we just need to handle some things that are urgent. And one of the things that would be is, a lot of times when you're saying what the problem might be, when somebody else hears it and then asks clarifying questions, we could then dig deeper into that. So I think the first way is you got to talk about it, because we don't know which way we can go out of it. And sometimes as contractors, we just need a quick fix. And a lot of times when I work with people, I'm just like, here's the first thing I would do. Let's do that, and then let's regroup.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry, I had a little technical difficulty there on the poll, but I just launched that poll. So again, if you want to kind of talk to us about how we can implement some of these things into your business before we head into the busy season, help you capture more of those leads that come in, minimize the bandwidth stress on your people. Happy to have that conversation after today's call. So if you have any questions at this point, feel free to type them into the chat or go ahead and use that Q&A feature. Dave, got a couple more questions here that were pre-submitted. How should contractors think about balancing the people and the systems during peak season? So we're a $5 million shop. How do we kind of balance those two things?
So, when you're looking at really matching where you want to get for your growth wise, because there might be a time you need to invest in more people, because you got to put the cart before the horse in this one, where your systems you have in place, you just need to maximize them when you have the people. There's other times where, if you don't want to match that growth, then maybe redefining your systems, getting better at where you're at, squeeze some more juice out of those lemons. That's really the key, because, don't follow what your competitors are doing. Don't follow what you think somebody else is. your business is unique and you need to address that on consistently, because what the last thing you want to do is add more people on and it really doesn't get your results. Now you're dealing with a deficit, where if you have the other part, you have all these great systems, but now you're having a problem where you're going to find the people to help execute them. So it's really, that's a great question at $5 million in sales, is the fact that you're right on that edge, that if you want to change, you got to invest into the right strategy. But if not, you could be repeating the same cycle year after year. And so it really matches where you want to go with your growth.
Makes sense. And got a question in the chat. And happy to have this conversation with you, Dave, because I think we both kind of have a lot to add on this topic, right? So would you default to AI first CSRs or human CSRs? What's your take on that? I'll chime in after.
Yeah, no, I always look at it like when you deal with a doctor and you ask them, is this something I should take, right? If they give you their first feeling and they're not really evaluating the idea a little bit, then I think you can mislead where you're going. So I say there's great products out there. Timing could be it, money could be it, the resources could be it, and that's what's holding you back. But if I had to look at it, and depending on what size of your company, I would embrace it, because there's things humans can do that might be tied up that we could then take that off their plate. I know that, like, if I had a group of CSRs and I wanted to get to 2 or 3 more CSRs right now, I would then use that agent so that I could build my processes, build my team up, and then get another person in. But if I know that I can put them to where I can have a meeting right now and they're able to answer the phones, do it professionally, and I got an hour worth of my time back, you can't put a price onto that. So I think you have to really look at, what are we going to use it for, and not just this is going to replace, a person, because they're
Right.
both very instrumental to your business.
I have a couple of anecdotes. One personal, one that I've kind of experienced through another webinar. So I was on a webinar with Ted Fox, who owns Fox Heating, Cooling, Plumbing, Electrical. Uh, Ted in 2024 suddenly lost his entire CSR department based just on attrition, right? So, he had one kind of person that hung around that could work the phones, but he was really faced with an issue, right? Like, do I go try to rebuild, or do I embrace an AI CSR, an AI first CSR? So he did that, right? And what happened was that really replaced his entire department, right? Engaged all of the inbound leads for sure. And then he also set up a process to replace outbounding. So the agents not only took every inbound call, but they made 400 plus daily dials to do outbounding. So that really just put his business on steroids and allowed him to put his resources elsewhere, right? And so that was interesting. And then a couple months ago now, in Vegas, I went to Epic 2026. That's the EGIA Contractor University Conference, and sat down with an owner of a plumbing company, and he brought up his Avoca dashboard inside of Service Titan. And he showed me that for the month of January, he had, his typical CSR department taking inbound calls. And this was, I think, the 12th of February, right? So then he showed me from February 1 to February 12, where he switched to all AI first. So not only did that one AI call taker take a higher volume of calls, it had like a 5% higher close rate. So in the 90s, right? And that resulted in, tens of thousands of dollars for him. And obviously this was a test, but that was not even half the month. More inbound calls taken, more closed jobs, more revenue, right? And he took the approach that people didn't care if it was AI or not, so I'm not going to tell them that it's AI. So that was pretty interesting. And really, the fact is, like I said before, people are just trying to get to the solution as quickly as possible, right? So They probably don't care that they're talking to a CSR. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But in reality, if your current systems and team isn't in a place to get that prospect to the fastest solution, then AI might be the answer.
Yeah, man, you're absolutely right. You're building around the systems, what you have in place, because those are great results. And for the one guy who lost his team and to put it in there, I mean, it's one crucial part where because he was able to have that feature, he could now take a breath and put it into where he wasn't losing customers. He just answered the one part of his process. But if your process is good in all those spots, then it only enhances. But can it expose where you're not doing well? Yeah, it can if you don't rely on it properly. So you're right. But I think you did a great job of looking at the situation and saying like, here, we're here to help. We're not here to make your life worse, you know. So that's great.
Dave, do you have any kind of final thoughts that you want to leave our audience with today as we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm here to help. If you have any questions, you just need to talk about those ideas. That's the great place to start. I love connecting people with the right resources of where they need to be. But there's multiple ways that you can reach out. You can text me, you can call me, you can, reach out and on social media. But one of the best ways is I would advise if you're thinking today and there's an idea that you're thinking about implementing, then just talk about it with somebody who cares. That's somebody who have your best interest, that's going to give you that feedback. Because I know over the course of years, going to like things like Epic and all these different ones, you're getting ingrained with a lot of information. But if you don't capitalize on it, then you're just hurting your business and yourself. But the good ones take that information, whatever part that it is, and they use it. And so you got a lot of good information here today, and you got a great software that you could use. Inquire, find out, take that next step. I bet you won't be disappointed.
Absolutely. And sign up for that 2-hour free implementation with Dave, because that's thousands of dollars of value right there that you're going to get for free. And that's something that, every time I bring a guest on, I want to make sure that they're bringing some incredible value with them. And that is probably the best free offer that I've ever had on the show. So Dave, thank you again for coming on, for sharing all this really practical, timely information with us. And thanks again for all of you that attended, taking time away from your business to invest in yourself. That's something that's very powerful. Our next Home Service Insider Masterclass will be with Michelle LaFrance, and we'll be covering 5 ways that contractors can compete with private equity. So if today's content was helpful, you're going to love what we have coming up next. So again, Dave, appreciate you, my friend, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you, CJ.